History is the present, and each generation writes it anew. In the 60 years since Aunt Mary's Kings in Grass Castles was published and put the Durack name firmly on the map, 3 or 4 generations have been born, and hundreds of books about our country have been written. Australian history itself reflecting world history, has been reviewed, revised, rewritten, written anew. Today we are writing history anew, and through the presentation of an updated family tree, recognising more completely the breadth and the depth of family connections with the land and with the people of Kimberley that have been built up over more than a century and a half. In short, with this tree, we are aiming within an ever-fluctuating environment to be as accurate as possible in putting history to rights. An ambitious aim, to be sure, and we can't be sure of success. 40 years ago, almost to the day in June 1979, our immediate forebears and many of the old people from the stations gathered here. I don't think there were quite as many then as today. The latter had known our parents, Mary, Elizabeth, Reg and Enid. Their graves are within these grounds, and may they rest in peace. The station people, among them Daylight and Ruby, Johnny Walker, Gypsy, Sheba, Rockall, Peggy, Nida, Dado, had also known our grandfather, Michael Patrick, and his brothers. It was a happy, nostalgic occasion, as indicated by media reports of the time. 40 years ago, however, focus was on the pioneering pastoralists, and as evident on the plaque that was prepared at the time, the plaque that's near the front door, the position and role of the original inhabitants of the land with regard to the pastoral enterprise was only indirectly acknowledged. The then young fellas, Ben Ward and Ribna Green, and many others of their generation and successors who are here today, were not present in 1979. They were aware of a big commemoration taking place here, and this is recorded in Ribna's documentary On Sacred Ground, produced a short time later. But as far as any of us know, the generation, the inheritors of the 1967 referendum, had not been invited. At this point, we need to mention one person who is here today, who was here in June 1979, when Mary Durack formally opened the museum. That person is Helen Durack Muir. Welcome, Helen. Your daughter Anna, and also your niece Cara. If there's anybody else who was here 40 years ago, please let me know. But I think Helen's the only one. When my brother Michael and I, and Michael's son Liam, took on the task, or more correctly, we landed the task of updating the family tree, we had no way of foreseeing where it would lead, nor the range of reactions, positive and negative, that it would provoke. And we certainly did not imagine an amazing event involving all of you, many travelling vast distances to be here today. Thank you for being here. Let me go back a bit and work out how I became the coordinator of this family tree, a job I'd never thought about, let alone aspired to. It was just over a year ago that I called on Andy Marriott, the new general manager of the Kununurra Visitor Centre. Andy had been out to the Homestead, and apparently first impressions had not been very favourable. I was not surprised. For years this museum has had many revisions, its direction and purpose never clearly stated. A big topic for another day. And then Andy said, the family tree, that looks rather out of date. Could you do anything about it? And I said, Yes, sure, I could do something about that. At the time, I believed that updating the tree to be quite an easy job, one that would take a month or so to complete. Little did I know, although not long after, when I told a friend I was updating the family tree, dangerous things, family trees, he said. I well know now what he meant. After seeking the views and general agreement from first cousins to go ahead and update the family tree, Michael, Liam and I got on with the job. Our first draft was sent out in mid-May last year. A short time later, a comment came in claiming the tree was not inclusive enough. We set to then at extending the tree beyond what was originally envisaged. It soon became clear the task would be more complex and take considerably longer to accomplish than anticipated. Some 12 months later, and more than a few ups and downs, it's come together. The tree that's about to be unrolled fills many gaps in the post-pioneering Durack story. It is incomplete, of course, as all family trees are, and yet it can claim to be the most comprehensive written record of a Kimberley family to date. And for this reason, it belongs within this former home of the Duracks. The tree itself contains some 750 names, descendants of the two Irish brothers Michael and Darby, who arrived in the colony of New South Wales just on 170 years ago. 750 names might sound a lot, yet in fact it's only a fraction of what might be, what could be there. Your children, for instance, are included, but not your grandchildren. Moreover, as implied by the general title, A Durack Diaspora from Galway to Kimberley and beyond, the focus is principally on family members who can claim some connection to Western Australia's Kimberley region, unlike, say, the vast and numerous branches of the family in Queensland and New South Wales. Michael points out that this 2019 version is necessarily one-dimensional, that within the basic skeletal outlines of the 750 listed individuals, each one with a unique story to tell, there are layers and layers of individuals from other families that are connected to this family. A job perhaps for what's sure to be a more digitally swish and comprehensive version in 10 or 20 years' time. Lots of people, scores of you, have helped to bring this tree together. I won't name all who have contributed. You may never be properly acknowledged, yet please know your assistance has been greatly, deeply appreciated. 3 people, however, 3 people must be named, for their role has been indispensable. One has had more experience than anyone here today in the intricacies and extraordinarily absorbing world of family trees. At one stage, when I was being flagellated for something or other, his sympathetic comments via a text message sure kept me going. That person is cousin Tom Stevens. Don't know where we'd be without you, your patient and constantly helpful backup, Tom. Another is a person whose life, unarguably, is fuller and busier than anyone else's here today. Yet she was always available when called upon, providing me with wise and calming counsel at any time of the day or night. That person is cousin Anne Durack Barker. The third person, who, for this exercise, has transferred innate mathematical, logical, and engineering skills to the computer and has managed to negotiate clear, straightforward paths through the forest of Australian Duracks, is my brother Michael Clancy. It is now my pleasure, on behalf of donors and contributors, to formally present this updated tree to the Argyle Homestead Museum, and thereby to the people of Kimberley as a whole. Thank you.